Well, with so many tech stocks to choose from, how should investors go about selecting the ones best positioned to see gains in the next year? Well, joining me now with insights about the technology themes set to take center stage in 2021 is Gene Munster, managing partner at Loup Ventures. Thanks for joining me today, Gene.
Thank you.
All right, so this year has brought with it a pretty notable acceleration in the adoption of certain technologies due to the shifting habits in response to the coronavirus pandemic. But what stands out in your mind as the technology themes and stocks that are set to have the biggest impact in the coming year?
So fast forward to 2021, it's still about this digital transformation, this impact. These tech companies have been important, but there's some new entrants to companies that will have a massive impact. Those new entrants, of course, are IPOs. There's two that we're going to be keeping a close eye on in 2021. One is Affirm. This is a point-of-sale lending platform. Essentially, when you're going through e-commerce, you can buy things on a monthly payment basis. But what's more important is it really plays into this theme, whether it's millennials or the early front of Gen Z, buying things on subscription. This is the rent versus the buy opportunity, and Affirm is right there. About 30+% of their business is with Peloton. Gives you just an example of the types of things that people are buying with Affirm, but this is one that really can disrupt the fintech space. And second in the IPO segment is Roblox. This is something that I do not play, but they have just a very powerful, loyal base. And this is a game typically by teenagers, but this company is effectively the next social network. It's a 2D social network. When we think about the future of virtual worlds, we think about the impact of virtual reality. The first formation of that is going to be through gaming platforms. And Roblox has a massive opportunity really to be this next social network platform, a different perspective than most people have. So those are a couple of the ones, the up and comers, and then a couple companies to focus on that have been around for a little bit. Zillow, what they're doing in real estate. This is going to be 2021 is going to be the slow shift away from top of the funnel, which they own today. 250 million plus people check Zillow on a daily basis. It's basically anyone who's got income in the US. And I think that they're going to be more impactful on the buying part of trading homes, taking friction out of a market that has longed to become impacted by tech. And then Apple, I think what they're doing around digital transformation is underappreciated. It's one that a lot of people talk about, but I think the significance specifically about how they can change more of their hardware into a subscription type businesses. This is going to be good for the company's revenue and also Apple's multiple.
Yeah, it sounds like the story is still in the early stages of playing out on that front for Apple.
For sure.
And speaking of, can you talk to us a little bit more about your thoughts for not just Apple in the coming year, but also Tesla, these two big tech titans? Both of them announced it had stock splits this year, so a lot of excitement from that perspective as well. What do you think the future is for Apple and Tesla as, you know, sort of those two big tech popular stocks in a lot of investors' minds?
I think about if you're going to have to pick one in the near term over the next year, which one's going to do better? I suspect that's going to be Apple, in particular, just because of the big run that Tesla has had. I think sometimes it's hard to kind of compound those kind of returns. But more importantly, when I think about those two, both these companies long-term are in a great position for very different reasons. In the case of Apple, it is the ability to empower this digital transformation that we talked about. It's not just working and living from home or learning from home. It is about the priority we're putting on these devices and services has been heightened, and that will sustain beyond the pandemic. Apple is a wheelhouse play. If you just look at their Mac revenue growth in the last few quarters, it has skyrocketed. That's a great example of this digital transformation. Apple will benefit from that throughout 2021. And don't forget, we got a 5G iPhone cycle, which will benefit their comps as well. And then second, in terms of Tesla, this one much more controversial. When you look at it relative to its market cap, the other major auto companies, it is much bigger. But I think ultimately the case that this is a tech company is a valid case. If you look at what they're doing with their software revenue that is going into deferred, that's high margin revenue. And more importantly, the product that they're building is ultimately continues to win users. They have 85% market share of EVs in the US. Next year is going to be the year where they continue to grow. There's going to be some teething around that growth where they need to build factories or potentially acquire assets of other automakers to build cars. That's going to be the story next year with Tesla, is their ability to keep up with this 40% plus growth in demand. It is quite remarkable, but I think that's going to be the story. When you put it all together, and I'll leave the best for last here, Tesla longer term is not going to be a car company. I do believe that it is going to take their tech that they've evolved in automaking and apply that to new markets, HVAC, insurance, autonomy, flying taxis, perhaps.
All right. Well, Loup Ventures Loup Frontier Tech Index is all about looking at cutting edge technology and innovations. And that index tracks a select group of companies that are influencing the future of technology. And investors can get exposure here with the Loup Frontier ETF with the ticker LOUP. Now, Gene, the ETF has been on an incredible run as of late. So talk to us about the methodology for the selection of stocks in this index. I'm also particularly interested to hear more about Pinterest having the top weighting as of now in this ETF.
So at the core, our methodology is about growth, and our belief in following tech for 2+ decades is that if companies aren't growing, then they are not succeeding. Their technology simply doesn't have a place. And so that's the piece that we overweight in our index, is companies and their future growth outlook. We also value being contrarian and thinking about companies in a different way. And that's how Pinterest fits its way into our index, based on it being a play on augmented reality. Now, stick with me here, as Pinterest is, for most people, just simply an image discovery platform. But we view images as the basis of augmented reality and training some of these neural networks. I think that this is an aspect of the Pinterest story that is largely underappreciated, and that's why it finds its way into our index.
So, something like an Apple, which you're talking about the prospects for growth in the next year, not showing up in this index, and something like a General Motors showing up. Talk to us about how that makes sense.
It's about growth. That's the ultimate key. And I think just specifically there is market cap limitations on this. We're looking for less well-known names. So there's a $250 billion market cap. So for example, we've had Tesla and NVIDIA in the index, but we've had to sell that as both of those have raced through that $250 billion market cap. GM finds its way in there. Part of the reason is that if you think about broader auto, the only two existing auto companies that we think have a legitimate shot at having a business beyond a long-term business is GM and Volkswagen. And so this is one that's, again, a contrarian, out of favor, but should see some positive growth trends around some what they're doing with Cruise and autonomy that find its way into the index.
Hi there. Thanks so much for watching Investing Strategies on our YouTube channel. If you want more executive interviews and analysis of key trends to watch, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date.